Hey guys, this is Ben with Tilmor. Today we're going to be looking at fuel restrictions. Some of the effects that you guys might be feeling are low power, your tractor won't stay running, or maybe it won't even start. This is usually caused by either got debris in the fuel or it's just poor fuel quality. First thing that we're going to want to do though is disconnect our battery with our battery disconnect switch. Okay, we're going to take a walk around here of the tractor. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to look at the fuel shutoff valve. And if you come in here and look, that is off, that is on. You want to make sure that fuel shutoff valve is in the on position. Next, we want to look at the fuel filter and replace that, clean out the sight glass really well, and put a new fuel filter on there. If your problems continue, then we're going to need to get deeper and we're going to need to look for blockage in the fuel lines. And that is going to be done over here. To get into the fuel tank cover, if it has a work light on it, first you're going to want to go and you're going to want to unplug your work light. Next, what you're going to want to do is there's 3 bolts here and there's 3 bolts on the other side. You're going to want to remove those 3 bolts. And there are 3/8. Put those bolts in a safe spot so you don't lose them. And after all 6 bolts are removed, you're going to want to come and you're going to want to pull your fuel cap off. And then you should simply be able to lift the cover up off the tractor. And push the wire back down through the hole. There we go. Set that off to the side. And you're going to want to put your fuel cap back on so you don't end up with more debris in your fuel tank. So what we're looking at here is the fuel supply line has got a restriction in it. One thing to try before pulling the pickup tube out is removing the big hose. There's 2 hoses here. The big one is the supply, the small one is the return. So what we're dealing with today is the supply. So you're going to want to take just a basic pair of pliers and grab the spring clamp, compress it, and just slide it back on the hose. You're going to want to work that hose off the barb fitting. And then what you'll do is you'll come around here and you'll want to do the same thing and remove the hose off of the number 1 port coming into the fuel filter. There is a 1, 2, 3, and 4. And number 1 is the inlet to the fuel filter. Number 4 is the outlet, and that goes to the engine. You're going to want to come over here to number 1 and pull the spring clamp down with your pliers and remove the fuel line from the fitting. Next, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a friend to put that line in a bucket with a rag down in the bucket. You're going to come over here to this side. After the line is removed, you're going to blow air through that line. And the goal is that if there's restriction in that line, it will come out of the line and end up in the bucket. If you do that and you look down in the bucket and there's no restriction, then we have to go even deeper. And with that, after the line is already removed, you're going to want to take a pair of vice grips. You're going to want to clamp them on the square part of the pickup tube, and then when you're going to just want to wiggle and pull that pickup tube out of the tank. So this is what a pickup tube is going to look like when you get it out of the tank. So what you're going to want to do is hold a rag over this end and put a blowgun on this end. And you're going to want to blow air through the pickup tube, and hopefully your debris comes out into your rag. And then you've solved your issue. So now what we got to do is we got to get it all back assembled. The best way to do this is to lock the fitting and the vise, and you're going to want to work the grommet off of the fitting like that. So then what you're going to want to do is take your pickup tube that you've cleaned out of the vise, put your rubber grommet back in your tank, and you'll just have to work it down in there. Get it so it lays flat down in the tank. You're going to want to take your fitting and take a real small amount of grease. You want something slippery to help this slide back down in the grommet. And you'll stick your pickup tube down in the grommet, and you just work it down in there. It just slides right back in. That's why the grease is there, so it helps it slide back together. All right, now that we're back at the tractor, we've got the pickup tube back in the tank. We want to take the line, put the line back on the fitting here, and also put the line back on the fitting back there at the fuel filter. Make sure you get your spring clamps on there straight, and you're going to want to come back here to the primer bulb, give it a couple squeezes until you'll feel it pump up. You'll feel fuel actually going into the primer ball, and you won't be able to squeeze it anymore. Then you know it's good and prime, it's ready to go. And then we'll go back and we'll put our cover back on, and we should be ready to go out in the field and test it out. So to put the cover back on, you're going to want to take the cap off. The work light wire is something you're going to have to work back up through. Get the set back down on there, and then you can go ahead and put your bolts back in. One thing that I recommend with these bolts, that anything that has a speed nut on it, is start them all by hand, and you'll actually be able to feel them start threading in. Make sure they're good and straight before you start putting pressure on them. And you also want to get every bolt started in the hole before you tighten any bolt. You want to put your cap back on your fuel tank. That way no debris goes back in there. Use your impact, tighten your bolts back up. And then reconnect your work light. And listen for the click, that way you know it's all clicked together. And that's it. So if there's any other concerns, anything else we can help you with, any other videos you want to see, send us, write it in the comments, and we're glad to help. Thank you.